All right, to kick it off on Himmelmatt Expo, there's pretty much just two main spawns for offense, and that's right over here. Obviously, this starting spawn right over here, and then occasionally, if we push up on the middle side or on the right side past B, the enemy's going to be spawning over here. And then for blue team, defense team, this is probably the worst spawn you can sit in right here, where you just get put right into a fatal funnel if the enemies are capping A. But if the enemies are capping B and you're spawning over here, it's actually pretty good to go for a full flank. And then, of course, you have your occasional spawns like in the back. And then I've seen probably one or two spawns like bottom middle right here. And that's about it. Maybe there is another spawn like close to B, but I don't think I've ever seen this spawn, so I'm not going to put it. But for sure, I've seen this bottom middle spawn, the regular back spawn, and then this alley spawn. And then for red team, these are the spawns I saw. Now, defense, one thing we always talk about defense is literally your goal is to fill in the 3 lanes and make sure the enemies don't get past the 50-yard line, right? So, quite frankly, one player that I personally, I like doing at least. Sorry, my my talking is a little weird. But one player that I see that works up the left lane that I really enjoy doing, and I'd highly recommend you guys to start doing in ranked play, is if you spawn up in this left lane and you know that the enemies are like trying to push B and get control of B, I personally just push up this entire left lane all the way until I get this flank off, because once I get this flank off over here, so once I get this flank off right over here, oh my gosh, come on. So when I get this flank off right over here, every single kill that me and my teammates get, the enemies spawn right here. And then I'm able to go back and forth between this middle lane and just constantly spawn trap the enemies right here over and over and over again. Now, what may happen is if you push it just a little too far, or like maybe your teammates get a little too aggressive over in secret, more than likely the enemies are going to spawn over in this direction. So occasionally you may need to turn around and just check it real quick. But for the most part, just by sitting right here and doing that long flank left, you can spawn trap the enemies right here on defense. By far my favorite thing to do. Other than that, on defense, whenever you're playing middle lane, whew, I'll tell you right now, you and a buddy just need to work it together. So whenever I'm working middle lane, I'm always like just pre-aiming and working it up slow, throwing my grenades. So specifically, I throw my grenades right here. So I throw like a frag grenade or a Semtex grenade right here. And then I always throw my stun grenade down on the staircase. And then once I get enough information that I'm free to push up, I always try to push up and I get into their top cat. But most of the time, you're always running into 2, 3 enemies. If not that, the enemies are bottom cat, and they just push out and they flank you from up top. So this is why I said most of the time you want to wait for a second teammate just so you can play the trades together whenever you're working this middle. And if you do work this middle on defense, make sure you throw these 2 grenades right here. And the whole point of just getting that middle control is so we can push up, get control of their base, and once again, now, if we can have 3 players spawn trapping the enemies right here, you can just spawn trap the enemies the rest of the game, and you win. Again, make sure you occasionally have one player just playing like back here, blocking this spawn right here. So, really one thing I haven't talked about yet, and that's if you're like playing with an actual team. If you're playing with an actual team and you need an actual setup or an actual role on defense, usually you would always dedicate one player to hard block this spawn, So you don't even have to worry about this. And all three of your other players just work up this middle section right here. So I've had this done to me in ranked play against a 4-stack, where literally there's just this one player back here constantly going back, hard blocking, and me and my team kept spawning here and just running into 3 different players middle. And that's just the only thing that kept happening on defense was 3 players hit middle, 1 player sat over here, and whenever we needed to like bump, or I mean whenever the enemies like died and they needed to bump each other, they would do exactly that. Where like these 2 guys, they would die, they would spawn out over here because we're pushing up towards B, and then number 1 would just push up to flank, while these guys off spawn would just fill in right here, and then 1 guy would go middle. And then now you have the 3 middle again. So that's literally probably one of the most overpowered things you can do on defense in Expo control. Just dedicate 3 players to constantly hit this middle wood, constantly get this middle map control, and whenever you guys die, you're more than likely going to spawn out over here. This player in the back pushes up to flank and help this teammate, and then you guys just fill in the blanks. And you guys can constantly flank B, because when you flank B, this top catwalk right here, super overpowered. It's super overpowered. It's always worth going for that flank. And that goes for even if the enemies capture B, you still get into the same setup on defense to kill all the enemies and spawn trap them right here. All right. Any questions for like defense?
I haven't seen this played yet, but what if they're just hitting A like first, or is it just typical that they're always trying to go B first?
So like your objective on defense is get 1 player over here and have the rest of your teammates middle, so they only spawn right here. Because when the enemies only spawn right here, they're only forced to push out in the bottom or to rotate all the way around in a circle. They can only do 2 things. And because they can only do 2 things, we're able to just spawn trap them like crazy. So it's kind of like this is a dedicated thing, and when we watch the pro players play, we'll see exactly that on defense. Is them just going for this spawn trap. Like sometimes like they would even give up B just so they can get the spawn trap.
Okay, I get that was my next question then.
Yeah.
So it's like in the event that they do get pushed past where those 3 people are, if they give B, it's almost like just give that up.
Yeah, because then what they do is they literally just play it like S&D, just make sure they play tight, play for their trades, and then once they get the kills, they know that they're always going to spawn right here.
I got you.
And it's kind of like a TDM thing, right? So if all 4 enemies just like got to B and then they push into our base, literally you just play TDM. Cool, we got 1 kill, we know that 1 guy's spawning there. So then like 1 guy would go dedicate himself to go kill that guy, while these other 2 guys are looking in the back. And this guy can push up as well, because he's still blocking this, because he's super close to the spawn. So then, boom, he'd be like, cool, we got another kill, that's 2 dead. Alright, let me go block. And then these guys work together, boom, boom, and now we're in the spawn trap again. And this is a new map, so a lot of the strats are pretty basic and just standard. But I'm mostly just showing what we can do in ranked play to get as many wins as possible. And then, of course, when we look at pro gameplay, this is all that they're really doing. And if it works, I mean, don't fix it, right? Don't reinvent the wheel. Right. Now, one very strong spot on defense, by the way, like let's say we just gave up B and the enemies are like going for a full rotation and they're back here. So on defense, really all you need to do is once again maintain this middle bar control. So you can like send 2 players B to flank and get control of it, or you can fight it head on. And then always you can have one AR player sitting on this left head glitch, because this head glitch right here is super overpowered that this player is able to challenge any enemies going up top, middle, or in the left lane. The only downside is if this player needs to, fight a player on A, he has to push out. But in my Discord 1, I have a lot of spots that show like where you can sit as an AR. Right. So we can talk about offense now. And I kind of already got into it. But when you are in this spawn trap, no matter what, you will be put into this spawn trap. It's just something that happens very easily for some reason. The best thing you can always do is just rotate to the back. If you're playing with teammates, try to send at least 3 or 2 to go to the back and just clear out your base. Because once we get control of our base again, now at this point, we're able to, probably push out, get some pressure out onto A. We get pressure onto A, these 2 players can now get control of middle. And then once we get control of middle, we can now push up middle and get control of their base. And that's one of the major things we always talk about in control, is on offense, you need to get a player past that 50-yard line. If you get a player past that 50-yard line, that player is doing so much for you and your team. So again, I'm just going to break down how pretty much control is played for offense, since I just saw that Z just joined. Thank you for joining, Z. But again, usually you would have probably 2 enemies up here camping, spawn trapping you, 1 enemy back here hard blocking, and then probably another enemy holding the bottom cut. So normally it's a setup like this, and what you do is you dedicate 3 players to the back. You just regain control of your base. Obviously, it's going to take lives, a bunch of trading. And ideally, what happens is when you win these kills and you regain control of your base, when you start getting pressure onto A, these enemies over here are going to be like, oh, shoot, they're on A. We got to go towards A. They're going to start pushing towards the left lane. And then this allows your teammates to get control of their top cat and their top bar, where they're probably going to kill this guy. And then once we kill this guy, this is where we can just dedicate 1 player past that 50-yard line. When we get that 1 player past that 50-yard line, this guy can literally flank all of these guys pushing up towards A. That's going to spawn them all the way out over here. And then again, this is where sometimes they spawn right here, which if you're teammates, if you're playing with a team of 4, now you can pre-aim this spawn right there. And then this guy can just hold the entire right lane. This guy and this guy can just hold the middle lane, and this guy can just hold the right lane. And then we just soak up a capture point. And if you didn't want to go A, where, let's say we went back to this position, right? Where we went back to this position before you even push through, or as you push through, you can just sit right here and force spawn the enemies in this left lane right over here. And then you can just tell your teammates, hey guys, let's just go B. Just leave A for now, we'll do it later. Let's just all go B. Then you guys can stack it. And because of this 1 player getting past that 50-yard line, sitting right here, he spawns them all over here. Right. Yeah, so that's really what I mostly wanted to talk about, was just those 2 strats on how to get out of the spawn trap, and then how you should be in the spawn trap on defense. But now I think it would be best to start watching some gameplay to kind of see everything that we talked about. So I play this in 1.5 speed just so we pick up the pace, but right here, just off the break, we can see exactly what I was talking about, right? Where just playing that middle control is super overpowered, and on offense, we get this 1 player that pushes up, and he's on that staircase that I was talking about, force spawning the enemies over in this right lane. He calls out to his teammates, yo, they're all spawning right, and now these guys just have to focus on a fatal funnel, where just look that way, and boom, we have 2 people shooting 3 people running right into their gunfire. And instead what happens is number 8, he goes for the pinch, and this is what I was telling you, how when you pinch, what's going to happen is you're going to probably spawn the middle, which this is really annoying that they spawn middle right here, because it kind of doesn't make sense. Usually they would spawn back over here, but it's Call of Duty. What are you going to do? And then this is what I was talking about, where when you spawn over here on this left-hand side, it's both good and bad. It's bad because the enemies, they have a fatal funnel, right? So you have 5, 8, and 6. They're all watching exactly where these guys are coming out. So that's kind of dangerous, where if you don't play the gunfights correct, or if you don't have any shooters on your team, you're dead. But at the same time, it's really good because you're going to get so much more map control. Where right now, 3 and 2, they're able to get this map control, and it's forcing that enemy team, offense team, into the spawn trap already. And that's what I was saying, how like your main objective on defense is just to get this spawn trap. Because the second you get this spawn trap right here, they only have 2 places they can go, and you're going to constantly have a flank on them. So number 3 is going for that full flank. They have a pretty good collapse right here. Just showing that because 3 went for the full flank and gave up this, that guy spawned close. Optic just really focusing up the middle. All right, number 4. So again, number 4, he gets to this spot, and I can guarantee you for like the next 30 seconds, he's just going to sit there. And the whole purpose of it is because he sits there, his teammates just have to play, team deathmatch. They just got to play the kills. That's all they got to do, because every kill they get, they now know the enemies are spawning right here, and that's going to allow them to get those spawn traps. But what we see is once we go 2 dead, Optic goes down 2 dead. Usually number 4 would push up, but this is that scenario that I was telling you, Blaine, how sometimes teams, they just give up B, right? Where number 4 could have pinched this at this point right here, where it's like, oh shoot, we're down, let me just go for the pinch and save B. Let me go for the pinch and save B. They're not saving B at all. They just said, give it up, let's just keep the spawn trap. And that's what I was telling you, how like it's a very basic strat, but it works, and we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. And of course, he dies at the worst time possible. But once again, we just dedicate players towards this side. Because the enemies push up B, we get this better spawn to immediately get map control at A. And the more that these teams play this map and scrim this map, the more that they're going to learn, how far do they need to push to spawn the enemies out in this direction. So right now, 1 and 3, they're really just like playing it together, playing it, kind of, I don't want to use the word scared, but they're playing it passive because they don't know how close the enemies are going to be. But I can promise you in VOD review, once they see that, oh shoot, when we stand right here and they spawn here, we can just fly immediately. And they're going to have those timings down even better. But at this point, Optic just has literally the entire middle map and left lane control, so Ravens lose. Now let's watch their offense, because they actually win this offense. Any questions so far? No? Cool. So pretty slow round, but key player, number 2, he's past that 50-yard line. So right now, as a key player right here, he's going to be able to control the spawns and give constant information down. I think he goes to kill number 6 right here, or he misses. Oh no, he didn't even go to kill him. So literally, that's the whole point of getting that player past the 50-yard line, is now this guy's going to make a play. It doesn't matter that we're down, 4, 6 lives. That doesn't matter, because we invested those lives. Just get one player past that 50-yard line who can now make a play. He's given a call out. Yo, one guy's going our top bar to our middle. There's one guy over here at left. I don't know if he saw number 5, but I'm just showing you what you should do. He saw number 7, so he gets this great pinch. Boom, he gets that pinch. And now he's force spawning the enemies down into this little quadrant over here. And he's just staying pushed up, being a nuisance right now, just slaying out. And it's interesting to watch Ravens ignore him. They are literally ignoring him, because if you remember, Blaine, and I've already mentioned this a few times, Z, a lot of teams, all they care about is this middle control and then getting a player right here so the enemies constantly spawn right there. And like a lot of the time that means they're beelining and just getting there and just ignoring the rotation back to their spawn. But like it's kind of not working for them right now, because Optic, they're winning all their gunfights. And not only that, but Optic knows, oh, they're not wrapping back. They're just hitting our middle and our back, so they just hold really good pre-aims. And that's where like offense turns into defense. It's because they have a good setup at B, the enemies are forced to push them. So Optic, even though they're on offense, now they're playing it like defense, where they're just sitting, pre-aiming, waiting for the enemies to push them. And they capture B like it's nothing. Something that's really good, though, right here, that I didn't catch this when I first watched it, is they got all these kills. Based on the positioning, they understand that they're forcing Ravens into this fatal funnel spawn right here. And they know, oh, this one player is going to cap this in about, 7 seconds. So let's just push right across and just kill these guys off spawn. They're not going to expect this at all. And this is exactly what they do, and it is just amazing to watch how it works, because Ravens were not expecting it. What's going through Ravens' head right here is... So this is what's going through Ravens' head. Oh, damn, we all three died? Alright, they're going to cap B. Let's just get map control on their side. Alright, let's just go. And they're just full sprinting. They're not looking for gunfights. They're full sprinting. And boom, boom, Optic, they get that amazing heads-up play to win all those trades in this right lane. And at this point, I mean, they have a full setup with the player past the 50-yard line, and they end up losing their gunfights. Damn. They still win the round, though. It would have been nice if they won it right there, because then that would have been just perfect. But it's Call of Duty. So they sent 3 to rotate back, and then they had that one player play a little bit back, but they literally rotated, got control of their A base. Now at this point, I think this is where they win. Alright. So lives are 6-8 right now. This is where we just need to play it like S&D. Get control of our middle. Then get to A point. And then somehow Ravens, they just push out. That's just... I don't know if Ravens didn't know the lives that they had, but it looked like they got a little over-aggressive. But I think Optic get this 2v4. Or they should get the 2v4. Huh. Guess I'm watching the wrong game. My bad, guys. I literally thought Optic 3-0'd them on this. And they won a offense, but I guess I was wrong. Oh, this was the offense. Okay. Sorry, guys. This was the offense that I mostly wanted to talk about. Just because on this offense right here, Optic decides to just go for a full man A hit. They stack A. They win these gunfights. Number 2, once again, past that 50-yard line, getting that flank off, and then starting to force the enemies to spawn over here in the right lane. And he's just playing this cut. Again, I don't know why Call of Duty does that. Because of number 2 right here. So number 2, he should be force spawning the enemies out here, but instead the enemies just spawn closer. That's just Call of Duty being a bad game. But Optic, they win the gunfights, and they have a full setup on B. That is usually GG's. But do we have any questions about this map?
No, good.
Yeah, okay. I kind of went rambling on towards the end. Just because I was like, bro, I thought they won this offense. But yeah, no, that that is Himmelmatt Expo. Blaine, do you have any questions?
Good that I could see it because like what you were talking about, I didn't know how far up you could block spawns, but like watching right there, you can block it all the way from like just barely past that head glitch box, like up there by A basically. But like yeah, where that is,
Yeah.
'cause it was even getting blocked a little bit. Like inside A, they're still spawning like back middle, and then anything past that, they're in the spawn trap.
Yeah, exactly. And it's something that pro players learn over time on how far they can push up. Where next time, I guarantee you, when a player's right here and they go, "Oh shoot, we got 3 dead." Yeah, no one's spawning right here. Let me just go for the full flank right away, and they just hit it with speed. Um, and yeah, so it just goes down to like the quadrant rule, kinda, where at least this is how you first figure out spawns when every new Call of Duty comes out. Is you just create this quadrant, and when you kind of look at it, if the player was right here, it makes sense how the enemy wouldn't spawn right here. And that's how I look at spawns, and that's how I determine how far can I push up. Or when I look at my map or I look at my mini map, I sit there and I go, "Oh, I'm push up like a little bit past the 50-yard line. It might be spawning out," and then now we have VOD to prove that it's correct. Yeah, that was pretty fun. Cool. Any other questions?
No, not really.
All right, no problem. So that concludes our class for today. Please, for like homework, quote unquote, for our next session, I would highly appreciate it if you guys can record a gameplay of Himmelmatt Expo Control, and then do your own VOD review. So what I mean by that is literally just rewatch your own gameplay and sit there and go, "Oh shoot, when I was pushed up right here, I should have realized that I had an opportunity to go for a full flank." Or maybe it was you already know that the enemies were camping B, and then you go for the full flank, but that was a bad play because now they captured B, you died, and now the enemies are all spawning closer to A. Right? It's just kind of a like a homework thing. If you guys want to do it, you guys don't have to. But yeah, if you guys do have any questions, please hit me up, and I will always be happy to help.
That's good. Thanks.